Assalamualaikum, good evening. A disturbing case of child abuse has emerged from Selangor involving a caretaker from a home managed by Global Equine Service and Business Holding. A young man entrusted with the care of children has now been sentenced to a decade behind bars. We bring you the full story. Muhammad Barur Rahim Hisham, 23, has been sentenced to 10 years in prison by the Session Court in Klang after pleading guilty to 4 charges of child abuse involving 3 young boys aged between 10 and 12. Barur, a teacher and caretaker at a GISB-operated children's home, was found to have used a cane and other aggressive means to discipline the boys in his care. Judge Norida Adam ruled that the sentence be served consecutively, requiring Barur to serve the full 10-year term. The case came to public attention following the circulation of a viral video showing a child being physically abused. The footage led to a police investigation which uncovered the disturbing reality within the care home. On September 25, Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussain confirmed that the suspect will be charged in court the following day. He added that the man had been identified in connection with the viral footage. Following this, the Royal Malaysian Police launched a nationwide operation known as Ops Global. Since the start of the operation on September 11, a total of 572 children has been rescued from care centers believed to be linked to GISB. Among the children rescued was the boy seen in the video, a child who had reportedly been separated from his father since 2021. Authority and children protection organizations are now working together to provide support and counseling for the victim. Many of them manifest long-term emotional trauma from their experience. This case has raised serious questions about the oversight and regulation of privately managed care homes. Authorities have pledged stricter enforcement and monitoring to prevent further abuse. The Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development has urged the public to report any sign of child abuse. The welfare of every child, they stress, is a collective responsibility. If you suspect a child is in danger, speak up. You can contact the National Helpline at 15999. Together, we can ensure children grow up in safe and nurturing environment. That's all for this report. Thank you. Hi, Assalamualaikum. In this video, we would like to talk about the issue that happened in Malaysia. So the issue is GISB. Ever heard the GISB? So GISB is stand for Global Equine Syndrome Berhad, founded by Al-Arqam in 1994. The Al-Arqam movement was once a striking and almost surreal phenomenon in the religious landscape of Malaysia. Dressed in long flowing robe and neatly wrapped turban, its member projected an image of piety, discipline and lifestyle seemingly rooted in pure Islamic value. Their life commonly practiced rigorous spiritual routine and spoke often of building a modern Islamic society, a utopia that promised peace, brotherhood and obedience to God to men, especially in the late 1918s and early 1990s. Al-Arqam offers something that modern life couldn't: structure, purpose, and a clear path to salvation. Thousands people joined them, a bonding, materialistic lifestyle in search of a higher truth. But beneath the veil of simplicity and faith, there was another reality, one not easily seen from the outside, a reality that over time unraveled a disturbing story, a tale of spiritual manipulation, questionable doctrines, and blind allegiance to a charismatic leader. It was a journey from idealism to extremism, where obedience turned into control and religion sincerity was twisted into a tool for power. This is not merely the story of missionary movement. It is a cautionary tale about the danger of unchecked devotion, religious exploitation, and how the line between faith and fanaticism can be easily blurred. From the fall of Al-Arqam to the rise of its spiritual successor, GISB Holding, we revisit a legacy shrouded in controversy. What really lies behind the robe, the title, and the promise of an Islamic utopia? It is revival or repetition? That is the story behind the image, the story behind Al-Arqam and GISB Holding.
The history of the founding of Al-Arqam. Al-Arqam was founded in 1968 by Ustaz Ashari Muhammad, a former government officer who left his post to dedicate his life to Islamic preaching and education. The movement began modestly in Kampung Datuk Keramat, Kuala Lumpur, as small religious study circles known as Usrah, primarily among youth and university students. Inspired by the early Islamic revival movement around the Muslim world, Ustaz Ashari envisioned a community that practiced Islam not only in religious rituals but in every aspect of life. He believed that Muslims should return to the lifestyle of the Prophet Muhammad and his companions. The group was named Al-Arqam after Al-Arqam bin Abi Al-Arqam, a companion of the Prophet who allowed his house to be used for the Prophet's early da'wah activities in secret. This symbolism reflected Al-Arqam's vision, a return to sincere grassroots Islamic revival. Members of Al-Arqam live in close-knit communities, emphasize spiritual purification, modesty, discipline, and self-reliance. They built their own school, wore traditional Islamic dress, and rejected many elements of Western modernity, including interest-based banking. By the 1980s, Al-Arqam had transformed into a highly organized Islamic socio-economic movement, gaining thousands of followers, dozens of Islamic businesses, and influence that reached across Southeast Asia and beyond.
Now I will sharing about the ban and the rebirth of Al-Arqam, a controversial Islamic movement in Malaysia. Back in 1994, the National Fatwa Council officially banned Al-Arqam. The reason? Investigation showed that they were spreading teachings that went against Islamic belief. For example, they claimed that loyal followers would go to heaven and their leader, Ustaz Ashari Muhammad, was treated almost like a saint, a man with a special powers. These were considered deviant teachings and not part of true Islam. Because of this, the authority took strict action and banned the group to stop the spread of these ideas. However, even after the ban, Al-Arqam didn't completely disappear. The group came back using a different aim and strategy. They set up businesses under the company GISB Holdings Sdn Bhd and started operating restaurants, hotels, and other services. On the surface, everything looked like a normal business, but in reality, the group was still controlled by a small, secretive circle, and they continued to follow Ashari Muhammad's teaching. This made many people question, was this a new group or just the same group in disguise? The return of Al-Arqam through GISB showed that their beliefs still survived, only this time it was more hidden behind business and branding. Because of this, the government continued monitoring them closely.
In August 2024, a major expose shocked the nation by revealing that GISB was suspected of serious misconduct including child abuse and spreading deviant teachings. Deviant teachings is the opposite of the Sharia. It misleads Muslims from the correct path. Some of the children had reportedly been separated from their families from birth, forced to work, and cut off from the outside world. Some religious leaders, like the Mufti of Police and the Center for Research and Deviant Teachings, gave strong warnings about GISB. They said the group was still spreading the same belief as the banned Al-Arqam, just in a more hidden way. The leaders were treated like really special people and the followers were being controlled and told what to believe. Even if it didn't look that way on the outside, they believed it was still happening behind the scenes.
On September 11, 2024, the Malaysian authorities launched a large-scale nationwide operation called Operation OP Global. This operation was a coordinated effort between the police, religious departments, and child protection agency. It came after growing concerns and reports from former members, parents, and the public about suspicious and abusive practice within GISB. Several of GISB's compounds, training centers, and business premises across multiple states were raided at the same time. What the authorities discovered shocked the entire nation. More than 600 children and teenagers were found living in highly restricted conditions. Many of them had been cut off from their family, denied proper education, and forced to work under the excuse of spiritual training and religious service. Some of these children had been raised in the group since birth, never experiencing normal childhood, never knowing their real parents or even their basic rights. Testimonies from the rescue victim reveal disturbing details such as psychological manipulations, strict punishments for disobedience, and being taught that leaving the group means turning away from Islam. In total, more than 400 members of GISB were arrested, including top leaders and administrators. They were later charged with a range of serious offenses, including organized criminal activity, child abuse and neglect, humans trafficking, forced labor, and money laundering disguised as religious business operations. In response to the revelations, several states, Perlis, Malacca, and Pahang, officially declared GISB as a deviant sect, and the government froze all of the group's bank accounts and assets. The raid marked a major turning point in exposing how previously banned movement had quietly returned under a new name. This was not just a religious issue, it was a national tragedy. It revealed the dangerous loopholes in our system that allow such a group to operate in plain sight. It also showed how religions can be misused to gain control over people's lives, especially when loyalty and fears are disguised as faith and obedience.
For the lesson and the conclusion for the issue that we study, the story of Al-Arqam and GISB teaches us about the dangers of blind fanaticism and the manipulation of religion. Not everything that appears Islamic truly carries the truth. Society must stay alert and have the courage to evaluate any teachings they receive, no matter who it comes from. Religion should be rooted in knowledge, not blind belief. May these stories serve as a reminder to us all that misguidance does not always come with horns and fire, but sometimes with a smile and a turban on the head.